We'll begin with opening statements. Representative Leber, you go first.
Okay. I'm Representative Matt Leber. I flipped a blue seat red, a seat that's been blue since Reconstruction. And I ran as a conservative, and I delivered as a conservative. I'm actually very happy and proud of my service in the House. But my service, when I decided to go into public life, it was a sense of duty. And I was compelled with that same sense of duty to run in this race. We're passing conservative stuff in the House, and it seems to die in the Senate. That's a problem. And there's only a few people in the Senate that stop our conservative bills, that single-handedly stop our conservative agenda. And I'm just a regular guy. I'm a veteran. I'm a combat veteran. I'm a paratrooper. And I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an attorney. I only have a humble associate's degree. And I'm very proud of that associate's degree. And I worked hard for it, and I'm proud of it. Regular folks need to be represented in the General Assembly. The conservative agenda. Unlike my opponent, I am that conservative. You have three choices in this election. You have the Democrat just running on the Democrat side. You have the conservative Matt Leber, and you have the Democrat Sandy Senn. She's a Democrat. She votes with them. She donates to the Democrats. She has donated to Wendell Gilliard. She donated to Mayor Tecklenburg, the same mayor that let Charleston City be destroyed by BLM protests. She wrote him a check. It is no wonder that she votes with Democrats. They write her checks. They campaign for her. She doesn't run as a Democrat, but she votes like a Democrat. I vote like a Republican. I guess that's the buzzer. So thank you. I'm the conservative option in this race that you need. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Representative Leber. Senator Senn, your opening statement.
Thank you very much. My name is Sandy Senn. I'm a lifelong South Carolinian, unlike this guy who blew into town about 6 or 7 years ago. I am from Branchville, South Carolina. I used to do the merry-go-mile in St. George, so I'm very familiar with this area. You folks who make up the 8% of the people that I represent in Dorchester County currently, I want you to know how proud I have been to represent you. I am a wife. I'm a mother of 3. I am a lawyer for police, firefighters, and EMTs, so I defend the good guys, is what I call them. I am very excited to be able to now get a little bit more of Dorchester County, if indeed you all decide to elect me. I have worked very hard. Nobody can tell you that if you've called me, I have not responded. I respond personally, to every email. I put out a long newsletter, and I tell you exactly, I signal how I'm voting, or if I'm not sure, I ask you to weigh in. I hope you will sign up for that newsletter. And in addition, I hope that you will also go back and look at some of my votes. I am not unhappy with my votes. I most certainly am not a Democrat. I'm a lifelong Republican, always have been. But there are various brands of Democrat. Of Republicans. I would say that I am a normal Republican, and I'm proud to be that normal Republican. I thank you very much. I'm Sandy Senn. Please go to sandysenn.com to learn a lot more about the work that I've been doing. Thank you very much.
Our first question, Senator Senn, you'll go first. South Carolina just became the most recent state to pass constitutional carry. With that in mind, do you believe that the work has been done to completely safeguard South Carolinian Second Amendment rights, or do you believe that there is still more to do? If so, what particular legislation would you support?
I don't know what else could be done. The only thing that could be done is if we required people to openly carry guns, because we have already passed constitutional carry. And in fact, I passed it out clean. So the NRA should be, quite frankly, sending me flowers. I have mentioned that to them. The reason that I voted it out clean is because there was a provision in there that was going to cost the state $5 million for training that nobody is going to take. Now, I might have preferred for there to be training. I think people who carry guns ought to be trained. I've grown up with them. I'm from Branchville, South Carolina. Therefore, I know all about guns. I love guns, but certain kinds of guns, and I don't believe that what we should do is go further. I don't know how you can go further. We've done everything the NRA has asked us to do. Palmetto Gun Rights has asked us to do. I know of nothing further that can be done. Everybody can now currently carry a gun. You don't have to go to training, and the state's going to be paying $5 million a year for training that people are not going to take. Thank you.
Representative Leber, same question. I can repeat it if you'd like.
Oh, well, it's not necessary. The question itself is flawed. I mean, the Second Amendment is the Second Amendment. There's no point in saying, well, what do we need to give you more rights or take away more rights? The right exists. It exists. And unlike my opponent, I have always voted for Second Amendment bills. My opponent is the only Republican in both chambers to vote against open carry with Training Act. She's the only one. She has a miserable NRA rating. It's an F. It's miserable. They know how she really feels about the Second Amendment and people's right to arm themselves. The government shall not infringe on that right. She thinks she can infringe on that right. The Second Amendment says nothing about training. She said just now she prefers that you get training. So she doesn't believe in the Second Amendment. She doesn't believe in your right. And it's not necessarily always about guns. If she thinks herself that she can deny your right, any right, what other rights does she not like? What's next? The Eighth Amendment? The Fifth Amendment? She's going to take those rights away? It is not our job as legislators to take away your constitutional rights. It is our job to defend your rights. And that is what I have done consistently in the House, is defend your rights. I have done South Carolina a service by even running in this campaign, because if I had not been running and I was not the conservative option in this race, she would have voted against constitutional carry. She complained about it. She voted with the Democrats with their amendments the entire process. She tried to drag it out. She does not like your Second Amendment rights. She would deny it. And if you reelect her in 2025, if there are any gun bills, she's going to vote against them because she is a Democrat. Thank you.
Rebuttal.
You have 2 minutes, Senator Senn.
Thank you. First of all, what he has been saying and what he says on all those campaign signs that you see where he manipulates my face and he makes me look ugly is that I have a 17% NRA rating. The fact of the matter is NRA does not even rate in percentages. And he has
What
never
is your
voted.
rating? What is your
He
rating?
has-
What's the rating? Tell us.
May I please add more time since I was interrupted? Thank you very much. So I will tell you that with respect to the Second Amendment, obviously, I do believe in the Second Amendment, but when it was written, things were different. Everybody knew how to handle guns. Everybody did. But beyond that, I can tell you that I voted the bill, like I said, I voted it out clean. Now, he says that he has voted for every Second Amendment right. He has only had one option. He only got into office after open carry was passed. Open carry, I was not a fan of because the police did not want it. It was in 2020. It was right after the King Street riots, and they said they did not want that because they couldn't tell the good guys from the bad guys. I represent police, and therefore I honored their wishes. Now, they did not stand opposed to constitutional carry, and therefore, not just therefore, but because I also agree, I think we all do have constitutional rights. But I would like to have seen some training in it. We all should be able to carry guns. We all should be able to do what we want to there. But I think that now in today's world, a lot of people are not trained, not like I was in Branchville. Thank you.
Yeah, I like the little rebuttal here.
No.
When she says that she would like to see training, she means she wants that to be force of law. She wants to write that law for you. The Second Amendment does not speak about training. It says the Congress or legislators will not infringe on your rights. They will not infringe on your rights. And she's yet to tell us what her NRA rating is. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not a 17. Maybe it's not an F. All she has to do is correct the record and tell us what her NRA rating is. I can tell you Matt Lieber's NRA rating is an A+, endorsed by the NRA, endorsed by the Palmetto Club, the Palmetto Gun Club. She is on the wall of shame at the Palmetto Gun Club. So to stand here and suggest to you and to gaslight that she's pro-Second Amendment is absurd. It's just simply absurd. And, you know, you're talking about supporting the police. I mean, supporting the chiefs and the top of the fraternities, that's not supporting the beat cops. The beat cops were for constitutional carry. They were for open carry with Training Act, and she was against it. Thank you.
Also, just to note, the green card means you have a minute left, yellow 30 seconds. Of course, red is stop. I mean, you had asked it. All right, Representative Leber, the question's for you. Considering the large spike in illegal border crossing during the Biden presidency, what steps do you believe South Carolina should take to prevent or disincentivize illegal immigrants from settling within our state?
Well, this is a federal issue, unfortunately. But I do believe that we should have a strict E-Verify system where employers must check the Social Security numbers and the information of anyone applying to work. And if they are an immigrant, they should prove that they have at least a green card or a work permit, whatever it is. We should have that strict E-Verify system. And not only that, we should probably start penalizing employers that do hire these illegal aliens, and that if they aren't using the E-Verify system, they need to be penalized for that. The agencies where we have entitlements and checks that go out to immigrants, et cetera, they need to be using the E-Verify system too to make sure they are only citizens. And I'm proud to say that we just passed a bill to make sure that only citizens can vote in South Carolina. So, we've got to verify all immigrants if they apply for a work permit to make sure that they are allowed to work in South Carolina. That will disincentivize them coming to South Carolina where other states maybe allow them to work.
Senator, same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
No, sir, I've got that. Excuse me, I think at last we might agree on some things. We do somewhat agree on Second Amendment, but I want to tell you that as far as immigration goes, I think that is one of the worst, if not the worst, problems that we have in our country right now. I go home after working for the state, doing my constituent service, and my husband has worked all day putting up signs, doing whatever, and I have Fox News blaring in my house, and he's so worried about it. I agree with him that it is an issue. So what I have done is certainly supported the governor in sending the National Guard troops. Absolutely. I also voted for the bill that said that we need to make sure that they can't vote, although there is no evidence whatsoever that any of them have ever voted. It's a preemptive measure. It is solving a problem, I guess, before a problem ever occurs. In addition, most certainly we should E-Verify, but employers already can get in trouble. I was upset whenever ICE was removed from the Charleston County Detention Center. That was not good. We did pay extra money. I voted to have SLED have increased funding in order to determine whether, or to investigate whether they're illegal aliens and then to handle that situation. These are simple things that we can do at the state level, but the reality is this is a federal problem, and I definitely support any measures that we can give, and I voted for every single measure that we could give in order to stop the overrun of the border.
Senator, next question is yours as well. Okay. Should the state of South Carolina ban so-called gender-affirming care for minors, including pharmaceuticals, surgeries, and other treatments intended to change their gender?
Yes, and we have already. I will that was just not long ago. But I will tell you that we need to do it with a little bit of compassion and dignity, because this only impacts about 200 kids. And these are not kids who just want to change their pronouns or whatever. These are kids who truly, and their parents, believe that they have had a lifelong problem, but none of the parents have ever sought that they should have any type of surgery. So again, we're solving a problem that has not occurred. Now, with respect to hormones, that definitely is occurring and has been occurring. That one was a little more touchy, but the bottom line is definitely with respect to any kind of surgery on minor. I don't even agree with breast augmentation, and you have parents that do that. I don't get it. I think, first of all, let's be fiscally responsible. If they want their breast augmented, let's wait until they're 18 and let them help pay for it. I don't know. But any type of surgery on minors, I mean, they're not ready for it yet. But the House bill that they passed said, and he passed it, said that nobody could have gender affirming surgery until age 26. And I'm sorry, that's not what Republicans are about. That is not what Republicans are about. We cannot cede our bodies over to the government. That's a bad idea. Thank you.
Representative, same question.
Yeah, that's exactly not true. The 26 age dealt with Medicaid funding, where your taxpayers will be paying for these surgeries for adults. That's what was excluded. It wasn't about you couldn't have one if you're 19. That's utterly absurd. The thing is that there is no such thing as a transgender child. I mean, my 11-year-old thought he was a dinosaur last week. And I don't know what's going on with the parents that are pushing these sort of things. I'm totally against it, the surgery especially, but the pharmaceuticals as well. And she voted with the Democrats on the pharmaceutical part with the hormone treatment, voted constantly with the Democrats on amendments, and then later voted for the passage of the bill. And I tell you, if I wasn't running, if I wasn't the conservative option in this race, she would have voted against that bill, because that's just part of her pattern. And there was text messages and social media where she said, I have to vote for this because I got to beat Leber. So you can guarantee in 25 a bill like this similar would come up, she'd be voting with the Democrats on it as usual. Thank you.
I'll wait. Next question, I'll wait.
All right. Next question, Representative Leber, this will be for you first. South Carolina has the highest state income tax in the South and regularly experiences budget surpluses, including the $1.8 billion unaccounted for dollars that were recently discovered. Many conservative states like Tennessee and Florida have no income tax. With this in mind, do you believe it's time for the state income tax to be lowered or even abolished?
I do, and I think the $1.8 billion needs to be sent back to the citizens. We shouldn't be spending that. Unlike my opponent who wants to spend it and find out how to spend your tax money, I think it needs to go back to you. And I do think we should abolish the income tax with the Florida and the Tennessee model. We can do consumer tax, et cetera, but we tax our people way too much, and it needs to stop. Taxation at some point gets just out of hand, and you don't get the response for it. She voted to raise your gas tax. How's that worked out? You have nothing to show for that in the low country. Your traffic is bad. After 8 years, your infrastructure is bad. But she raised your taxes, and you're supposedly paying for something that's supposed to get better. I am a Republican. I'm an actual Republican. I've never met a tax cut that I don't like.
Senator Senn, would you like me to repeat the question?
No. Everything that comes out of his mouth, you must fact check. You must fact check. I have never sent anything that says, Mr. Leber, I really want to vote for the transgender and I'm only worried about him. I'm not worried about him. I just simply am not. I keep doing what I keep doing, which is public service. Now you need to repeat that question. I had to get that little hit in without using a rebuttal.
Mainly boils down to, do you believe it's time for the state income tax to be
Yes, I
lowered
got
or
this.
even abolished?
Yeah, no problem. The $1.8 billion, who wouldn't want us to give that money back? But the problem is we don't know if it exists. He doesn't know if it exists. The reality is we had to, in the Senate, include in the budget $5 million to do a forensic audit because we don't know if the money is actually there. And if it is there, where does it belong? It doesn't just appear out of the air. So we have to figure this out. We've had two problems, comptroller and the treasurer. It's ridiculous. What I think we need to do is go back and change our Constitution to say that they have to have some type of accounting credentials because they do not. With respect to the gas tax, I did vote for that and I'd vote for it again. And you know why? It's costing every driver, started out at 23, might be about $26 per car. How else do you think we're going to pay for the infrastructure? That's the only tax I've ever voted for, and that brought more money locally so that you can build sidewalks, you can do all sorts of things. I am very proud of my record of tax cuts. We have cut, by the way, our income tax over one, now we cut it again, so it's basically almost 1%. Ever since I've been in office, which is 8 years now, we have had a surplus budget. That is not okay. We need to not tax people so much. So no, we cannot give the $1.8 billion phantom money until we know that it exists. And if it does exist, we should give it back, or we maybe should shore up the pension. There are a lot of things we need to do, but we got to know that the money is there and not fake. Thank you.
Senator Senn, we'll start the next question with you. If large-scale pro-Hamas protests were to take place on college campuses here in South Carolina in the manner seen on other campuses, what should the state's response be?
You know, this is the kind of thing that is not really a good answer under any circumstances. I think most of us support Israel, some may not. But the bottom line is usually on our campus, except for long ago when it was more racial stuff, our campus folks are okay. My son is here. He is a 19-year-old college freshman. The only protest that I've seen at Carolina was this guy holding up a sign, leaning by a tree, eating a sandwich, saying he would like electives to be different or something like that. But if it does come about, obviously we are going to have to keep the peace. And this is something that I certainly support Israel, I do. And others may not. I know that there has been at least a ceasefire now. That's something that I hope will continue, and I'm hoping that our state will not have to intervene. Thank you.
I'm going to be very clear on this. The First Amendment protects the right to petition your government over grievances, and I fully support that if it is done without violence and it is a legit protest that is calm and we're not breaking things and disturbing the peace. That is normal. We have to be very careful, though, in this situation with Hamas. If we've got folks that Hamas is a terrorist organization, so deemed by the State Department. If we have folks that are doing more than just petitioning their government with grievances and they're giving money to Hamas and supporting them, that's not okay. Those folks should face consequences. And if you're a student over here, a foreign student on a visa, and you're chanting in the streets, death to America and those sort of things, well, maybe your visa needs to be pulled. You shouldn't be here, So I fully support, we're not going to be heavy-handed on the First Amendment and hurt Americans' rights at free speech and the right to petition their government. But we have to be very careful when it comes to supporting a terrorist organization. Okay, that is a terrorist organization. Thank you so much.
Next question, Representative Leber, goes to you first. As you probably know, this race is considered to be one of the more contentious in the state. Considering the accusations levied against you by your opponent, please take a moment to address and offer a rebuttal to just one that you feel is unfair or false.
Well, I'd like to first thank my daughter, who's driven up from Florida, 20 years old, Savannah. She's come up. I got full custody of her when she was 8 years old, full custody, and her mother did not like it. But if you want to ask the person that was there the entire time and ask her, I got your back, you got my back, and I love you. She will tell you, I never abused her mother, ever. Those were false allegations in an attempt to win her back. And I kept her until she went off to college. My wife is sitting right there, been married over a decade. We believe women, right? She will tell you, I've never, ever been abusive. We believe women. All you have to do is ask either one of those two. Recently, there's come out that I do not have a degree. Well, here's my associate's degree. You want to pass this out, CJ, and let everybody take a look at it and look at it? Why don't y'all take a look at my associate's degree? Savannah, come get it. You guys can all pass that around and look at my associate's degree. These things, you would think after 8 years as a senator that she would want to talk about her achievements and her voting record. She doesn't want to do any of that. She would rather just intimidate me and to keep regular folks like me from running against her with these outlandish personal attacks that have all been debunked. I have won every single time in court against these false allegations. And she's making false allegations about false allegations. We're going to find out after this campaign whether I keep my winning record in court, because we're going to find out if this stuff is defamatory or slanderous. And I would submit to you humbly that it is getting to that point. This race should be about the issues. You guys don't care about this stuff. You don't care about my divorce decree and what my ex-wife said about me. There's my daughter sitting right there who loves me dearly and knows that this stuff is false and wrote her a letter and begged her to stop. There sits my wife who knows this stuff is false. It's false. What you care about is how we will legislate in the General Assembly that affects your life. Thank you.
Senator Senn.
First, Savannah, I'm very sorry that you got brought here. This was not okay for this to happen. The fact of the matter is, in the fact of the matter is, in the divorce decree, and you can go to whoismattleber.com. If they're not there, I'll definitely put them there. But honey, your parents just decided to split y'all apart. It was not anything, a custody battle. It was not an award. This is what happened. And neither has he. And neither has he.
Well,
Okay,
we'll ask for decorum at this
so
time.
please, let me, if I can, if I may, I'm just going to move on to me, okay? Because everything that I have on whoismattleber.com is backed up by records. Remember, police keep records. He actually admitted in one of those records that he shot a gun to try and scare her, his third ex-wife, from picking up a yard ornament, whatever
What
that
does this
is.
have to do with the people that come here to learn how we're going to legislate?
We're going to ask for some civility and decorum at this time, folks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, let me just move on. Let me just move on to what has happened to me in this race. My opponent, instead of addressing me with the issues, and he only has 2 issues that he really could potentially hit me over, what he has done is have his campaign manager put out into the world and tweeting that my face looks like toilet caulk. What he has also done is distorted my face in all of these things you see out here. I don't know why he distorted my hair, because that took him computer time, and my hair looks terrible anyway. I hate my hair. But he is doing things that to me are just really juvenile. He has even made my face look like the Joker, and his friends say, every Matt man needs a Joker. These are juvenile things, and I really almost feel like it's akin to him calling me a duty head. I mean, it's like, you're a bad duty head face. I don't understand that, and it really has caused a problem within my family. My husband is not here tonight because he feels like I felt like he should not be here, quite frankly. No man would say physical things about another man they were running against. And no man should say anything bad about another man's wife. And that's what he and his campaign manager have done repeatedly. Look at it. It's awful. And so therefore, I'll debate him any day on the issues, but there's no reason to kick below the belt like that, none at all. Thank you.
My campaign manager is Graham Horseman. I don't know where he is. I don't even think he has a Twitter account, so I don't know what she's talking about.
Slick.
But anyway, he's my campaign manager. I hope you guys get it. He's a former IDF trooper, like-minded guy fighting for peace and security in Israel. These things that are going on, these sort of personal attacks, she's yet to tell you, the voter, one single vote that I've made. She's yet to criticize a single vote. Not one. She's talking about all this personal stuff. I'm not going to. I'm going to talk about she's the only Republican in either chamber to vote against the heartbeat bill passage. The only one. She's the only Republican in either chamber to vote against Open Carry with Training Act. The only one. The only one. She's also advocated for leftist judges, tried to do motions on the floor to get them resubmitted to the vote. We're talking about the former Democrat. Yeah, he's a military veteran, but you don't get a pass on being woke. This guy is a woke former leader of the Democrat Party, and she advocated and voted for this guy, and thankfully the House was able to shut it down, and this guy was not elected to be a judge. She promotes these judges that rule over your lives, that rule cases for you. She is a leftist. She is progressive. And if it wasn't for me running in this race, she'd be even more progressive. And if you reelect her, she's going to be terribly more progressive. She's going to think this stuff works. Regular people are not going to run for office if these personal attacks that have all been debunked, just like my associate's degree that's been passed around, they've all been debunked. If you let this happen, where someone can destroy somebody personally, no good people will run for office anymore, and I fear for the fate of South Carolina when that happens. Evil does not prevail in South Carolina. This is South Carolina.
Rebuttal. Rebuttal.
Yeah. 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. The man is showing you a fake college degree. We have a letter directly from you. Anybody can do this, you know. He worked in computers. He says he was a big paratrooper. He may have been, but I can tell you his job in the military was computers. So if you...
All about me, personal attacks.
So it will probably be in the paper soon, but I can tell you that his registrar, who was there at the time that he says he went to that school, first he said he attended Mitchell Community College. Then he said class of 2001. Then he said he was an alumni. Then the next thing I know, he's a distinguished alumni along with Dale Earnhardt Jr. And that's when I thought, well, this is some BS at this point. So I wrote to the school, and they wrote me right back. And they said he doesn't have a certificate. He doesn't have a degree. He did attend. All of this stuff is in a letter. It's written. So I don't know where that came from, but it's going to be very interesting to get to the bottom of it. Like a lot of the things in his past. I want to tell you, I don't enjoy this. I have never in my life, I've run against 6 men, count him. I've never had anyone like this where I could do just a few clicks. Like you've heard me say, I represent police, and I'm looking at the keyboard and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. This has got to be terrible. Like 4 inches of oppositional research. It's bad. It's really bad. And it is on whoismattleber.com. I love my district, and I do not want to turn my district over to somebody who has a history who is not from here, and the history is really bad. Look it up. All of the police records, everything, all of the records are on whoismattleber.com. Thank you.
Hang on, you.
So listen,
Mr. Leber.
I got to rebut that. No, I've got to
No.
rebut that. So listen,
I don't
if
know.
you're
No,
going
sir.
to,
Well,
if you
No, sir.
listen, I don't know what witch hunt's going on and
No,
how
sir.
she
There's
misspelled
rules.
my name.
I mean, there's
Okay.
there's rules.
Well, I get the next.
All right.
I'll do it
Next
again.
question goes to Senator Senn. In the interest of civility, we would like to invite you to express or say something nice about your opponent.
He's got a very beautiful daughter who supports him, and I understand that. His firstborn daughter is not here, and I'm very sorry for those 2 beautiful girls, but he brought a beautiful daughter here who supports him, and I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Same question.
Okay, so I don't know what witch hunt she went on when she contacted my community college from 20 years ago. Maybe she misspelled my name. I don't know, or my date of birth. But if she wasn't on so many witch hunts and would want to talk about issues, and she wouldn't be so embarrassed right now. I have my degree there. It's incredible courage to be this wrong in public. This is so wrong. Listen, she's done all these investigations. Here, I have a CWP. So you can trust SLED's investigation of me, or you can trust the Senn campaign investigation of me, who has a dire interest in crawling and fighting to hold power. I don't know why, but listen, what was the question? Something nice? I appreciate your 8 years of service to the state. I really do. I appreciate it. It takes an incredible person to step up and run for office. This stuff is not easy, from yard signs to doing your newsletters and to legislate as the best you can based on your personal philosophy. I disagree with your philosophy, but I give you compliment that you would do that. You would step up and serve, and you've done it for 8 years, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
We're doing better than I predicted on time here this evening, so I'd like to take the opportunity to expand closing statements to 3 minutes. Representative Leber, you're first.
I ran as a sense of duty. I joined public life. This is not easy. Before I joined public life, Jamie's here. He knew me from way, way back, knew the wife. I had 6 friends, and I was happy. I had a sailboat, and I had a fishing boat. I was great with my life. But now, God blessed me in this way, and I have 6,000 friends. And I've been able to serve in the South Carolina House of Representatives, and I'm very proud of that service. We've done great things. We've passed the most conservative agenda in decades. Grateful to Speaker Merle Smith, who became Speaker as I was elected and got office. And we have done so many good things. The fentanyl bill, the bond reform, constitutional carry, the heartbeat bill. A lot of these things were just languishing for years. We were able to push them through. But we have bills still today that languish. Duty called. I look at this and I say, well, I could stay in this supermajority in this House and continue to pass out and churn out these conservative bills that die in the Senate at the hands of the few. And it's disgraceful that these are Republicans that are holding up our bills single-handedly with the rules that the Senate has to put their hand on a bill and filibuster that we don't have in the House. And I felt compelled to run. And I know this takes a lot. I'm going through a lot. You guys are all going through a lot. Life's not easy right now with the inflation and other things, the Biden economics. We together can do a great thing for South Carolina. We can get this conservative agenda flowing again. We can get these things passed. We can get our conservative agenda working. There's no good for me to stay in the House and pass out stuff that's going to die in the Senate. And I'm a duty man. If I'm a slave to anything, it's duty. And I'm compelled to do this, and I feel like I'm in God's will. And when you know you're in God's will, you're in a good place. And I know that God is going to determine who should hold this seat, and His will be done. The voters will determine this. And I appreciate that. And whatever the result is, I'm going to be just fine. I'm going to be just fine because I don't live for this. I'm not the normal politician, obviously. I had a crazy divorce. Who hasn't? I don't know. We've all had them. But I was never convicted of anything. I have a CWP. They checked my background. I'm a regular guy voting for you up there. It's important that your conservative agenda and low country culture is reflected in the General Assembly. I humbly submit to you that doesn't happen with my opponent in this seat. This district deserves a true conservative. I've endorsed Donald Trump. I'm not sure if my opponent ever will, but I have endorsed Donald Trump. I've endorsed my nominee. And I will stand with him. This is a fight that you and I can win. And I'm going to fight through the finish line, and we're going to win it together. Thank you.
Senator Senn, your closing statement.
Thank you. What this district deserves is integrity. I have worked for you tirelessly for 8 years. I have chaired the law enforcement committees, most of them. I have also worked tirelessly on flooding issues. I bring governmental entities together because what I did as a lawyer was illegal, being a lawyer for multiple entities. And I realized that these entities were asking me to do the same thing. And I thought, you guys need to get together. And when they got together, they realized that they could save money. And I brought that also to the flooding task force so that now we have a bunch of different governmental entities will get together. Sorry, something happened there. A bunch of different governmental entities will get together and help us solve problems. And that's what we need to do now. We need to solve problems with respect to infrastructure. It is bad when we have local entities who are free to permit as they wish, and we want them to be able to do that. But the state needs to be able to have some infrastructure in place. That's important to me. So I think that we need to do the same thing. Now, with respect to anything that I have said, it is all backed up. Like I said, every single thing that I have said is backed up. And I would like for him to show on whatever website he has that he can back it up. But I love this district. I do not want to see it go to somebody who will go to so far as to invent a college degree when you don't even need to have one. So I don't even get that. But what I can tell you is I want y'all to have the best representation, and if anybody in here is going to say that I have not delivered if you called me, I'm going to have to say I don't think that's true, because I definitely have done everything I can to deliver if you call me. And what you really need to think about is who is going to be the better candidate to defeat the Democrat. He admitted that there's a Democrat in the race. They already have a file. They have one that says, "Don't vote Leber." It's got a bunch of ugly stuff on it. He was a Vivek man. By the way, he could not even qualify to be a delegate at the convention because he had not voted in enough Republican primaries. So, I mean, you need to think about these things. All of this is record. Maurice Washington, the former chair of Charleston GOP, has written a letter saying that. Well, it is about him when he cannot seem to stick with the truth. And that is important. I will not embarrass you. My record is clear. I have a license. I have a license that I can lose. So he's threatened to sue me, is what I heard just now. He can do that. I wish he would do that, because then I can get a copy of some of his other records that I don't have yet. But you can say anything you want to in these type of elections, but mine are backed up on whoismattleber.com. Click every single one and you will see it. No, he did not get a conviction from the third ex-wife because she ran. She ran to Virginia, but he admitted in a police record that he shot at her to scare her.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we once again thank you all for coming out tonight. We thank our candidates for participating. We are just 32 days until June 11th. God bless and have a great night.